So I have this selected. I have my paths open. And then you see this little like target tool. It's going to take that selection and it's going to make it a path. And I want to do that because I want to stroke that with my dots. So I'm going to click on that and now I have essentially a path. All right. Now I'm going to come over to my brush and I'm going to make sure it is the correct size I want. That is really huge. I don't want it that big. I want it smaller. So I'm going to make that maybe like an 8. 9. We're going to do 9. Okay? That looks great. It's still a little small. I'm going to go back up to 11. I'm going to go into my brush presets, which right now I have docked over at the right. If they're not docked over at the right, I can always go up to window to find my brush presets. Okay? So under brushes, brush settings, if I click on brushes, this is what pops up. It's the brush settings I want. All right. So right here, this basic screen is what I want to do. This is what my brush is going to look like if I draw a straight line. I'm messing with my spacing. So if I want them closer together, I can make them closer together. If I want them farther apart, I can make them farther apart. That's the key for using the path. All right. So once I have that setting done, I can now stroke my path. So I can come back to my panels. I can go to this drop-down menu and I can click on stroke path. And obviously I want brush. And I'm going to press OK. And now I have that. And typically what I do when I'm done with that is I delete that work path right away because I personally don't like a lot of work paths. So I'm just going to delete that work path. So now I have that. All right. Then I can create another new layer to get that white dot, that reflection up here. So I'm going to maybe make that like 13. Whoops. And do that. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to use just my brush tool. So now I want the green back on top. So my green's up here. And I'm just going to make radiating lines out from the center of this. So if I click here and hold shift and go to here, I'm going to create a straight line. So I can easily make straight lines by holding shift. So I'm just holding shift out. And I could pick a different color green. I like to kind of use my swatches palettes over here. I can make them larger or smaller. I can make them closer together. I would actually probably want them closer together. I don't really actually like them that far apart. So I would probably go in and adjust that if I were really doing this. Just because I think it's way too far apart for this assignment. But anywho, that's that. So now I'm going to create another layer. And I'll come down here. I'm going to use the pen tool. And I'm going to make the shape of this eye. So that way I can dot that really easy. So I'm going to click here. And I'm going to click here. And I'm going to, as I'm holding on to, as my click, I have not released my mouse yet. I'm going to shape that eye. And then I'm going to hold Option down and I'm going to click on this anchor point. So that way I can make that like a new anchor point. And I can go there. All right. I'm going to go back over here, pick the color I want that to be. Obviously, I want it to be black. I told you before I didn't like the brush that far apart, so I'm going to get it closer together. That looks good. I'm going to go up here. I am going to stroke my path, press OK, and now I have that stroked. Now, I told you before that I want that bevel and embossed because I'm going to have black on here. So I'm going to go into my FX and I'm going to go into bevel and emboss. Because it's black, that's what I kind of have to do. Before I told you like on the colored one, you could kind of use that drop shadow. But with the black, obviously the drop shadow, unless I use white, isn't going to work. So I'll show you that too. So I can bevel and emboss this. Usually what I do is I reset to default. So that way it's back to the default of what it was. And then I can mess with it from there. so I can make the size bigger or smaller. Obviously, I wouldn't want it bigger because it's pretty tiny. And then I can press OK for that. All right, if I were to do that with the green ones, let's say I wanted to do, oh, I have an idea. Here's my idea. I am going to go, let's see this layer. Yep. This layer. Yep. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'm going to go to 10. I'm going to create a new, oops, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to create a new layer. Pull that down here. I am going to hit, I'm going to pick a yellow. I'm going to make a circle. I don't want it to be a real circle. I want it to, a real circle. I want it to be more of an oval. That'll work. That'll do. That will do. I'm just showing this for example. It's not something that I would actually probably do. So now I have an entire circle in here, and I can make these lines look as if they're coming out at me. I can go in here, can do a drop shadow, and now those have popped out. I'm probably going to, all right, you probably can't really see that. I can see it very well on my screen. All right. One thing I will tell you, when you create your document, you need to create your document and put your picture in there. Or when you get into your picture, you need to change your image size and make sure that you have a resolution of 300. If you do not have a resolution of 300, your brush sizes are going to be a little weird, meaning that a 13 pixel brush is going to be super huge. If I were to change this down to 72, it's going to adjust my pixel size. Okay, so make sure your because this is how you're going to get a good crisp drawing. You need to make sure that that is 300. If it's not, you're gonna run into a lot of problems. Okay, I'm gonna hit escape. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to hide this group. Do one more thing. So now I can easily turn groups on and off. Oops. So I personally think that looks a lot better, even though it is not complete yet. Zoom out. I need to bubble emboss this layer. So now when I turn that on, that is what I have. Now obviously I don't have any of the orange or anything in there like that. There's a lot of different things that you can do and how you want to go about doing that. You can freehand every single little dot where if you want dots different size,